Hey Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Astaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhaginaisake. We are continuing Canto 7, The Science of God. Chapter 3, Hiranyakashipu's plan to become immortal. Text. In this chapter, we see Hiranyakashipu goes to the Mandara mountain. And he does severe austerity. Actually, he wants to replace Lord Brahma himself. That's his austerity.
He prays to Brahma.
And he prays to Brahma. So it's kind of funny, but that's his intention. And then he wants to change all the rules in the world. Anything that's pious, he wants to make it impious. Anything that is impious, he wants to claim it to be pious.
The way he was instructing all his friends.
Yeah. So and the demigods were all very afraid of this. So they went to Brahma and said, you have to do something because he's doing this austerity for the wrong reasons. So the Brahma then comes and then he asks for that boon, the special immortality, and then the boon. And the Lord Brahma, he becomes very pleased with him actually. He's like his grandson, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So he benedicts what he asked for. So text 1. Shri Narada Vacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Aprati Dvandvam Ekarajam Vyaditsata. Narada Muni said to Maharaj Yudhishthira, the demoniac king Hiranyakashipu wanted to be unconquerable and free from old age and dwindling of the body. He wanted to gain all the yogic perfections like Anima and Lagima, to be deathless and to be the only king of the entire universe, including Brahma Loka. So he really wants to. So Prabhupada says how in the purport how the demons are like that. Their goals are not for the benefit of society, nor is it for the purposes of going back to Godhead. They merely want to control others or destroy something for their own sense enjoyment. So Prabhupada writes, the self-interest or thus self-interested persons by demoniac austerity want to kill even their benedictors. Whereas the Vaishnava wants to remain an ever-existing servant of the Lord, never to occupy the post of the Lord. So then Prabhupada also says how in general the Asuras always want Sayujya Mukti. Sayujya Mukti in general. So it appears that when they have a demonic conscience, they want to merge with the Lord. They don't want to be a servant of Him. So all demonic consciousness is to be equal. That is demonic. So whenever we think we want to be equal to the Lord, it's not the same as Samipya, liberation. But here is the desire is to be one with the Lord. I'm the same. You and me are the same. So, therefore, it is demonic to ask for Sayujya Mukti is a question that we should think at. When someone asks Sayujya Mukti, then we have to think, maybe this bugger don't want to surrender as a servant, but they rather want to control me.
So, even with other devotees, we should speak loud. When we relate with other devotees, we should relate as a servant.
Yeah.
It's the same mentality.
Yeah, our philosophy is to serve always. And I mean, the basis of our nature is servant. We were created to serve. And our relationship is for serving only. But it seems that when we come in contact with the material energy, the opposite effect takes place. It becomes, instead of serving the senses of the Lord, we become to serve our senses. And that's what the demonic nature is. Very strong desire to be, to have our senses enjoyed to the fullest extent we can, regardless of what happens to others. Why are you growing a beard for? Huh?
No time. Maybe he's taking.
Ahmad Hari Vallabh.
Huh?
Muhammad Hari Vallabh. Yeah, that's your name. I don't know why. Next to Satepe Mandara Dronyam.
Satepe Mandara Dronyam.
Tapaparamanarunam.
Tapaparamadaranam.
Urdhvabahu namo drushtihi.
Urdhvabahu drushtihi.
Padagushta shritamina.
In the valley of Mandara hill, Hiranyakashipu began performing his austerities by standing with his toes on the ground, keeping his arms upward and looking toward the sky. This position was extremely difficult, but he accepted it as a means to attain perfection. So he went to Mandara hill. It doesn't say here for how long he's doing it, but later on in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions, Prabhupada doesn't say from where, but he says it is said that he did for 100 celestial years.
Not for 10,000 years?
Well, we follow what Prabhupada says.
Celestial years is Sargaloka time.
So, yeah, celestial means heavenly planet time, not here. That means 6 months is 1 day, so 1 year is full 24 hours. Like that. So if you say 100 celestial years, then it's
multiplied by that many. 6 months is 1 day. 1 night is again 6 months.
Yeah.
So 1
24 hours.
1 day is 1 year.
Yeah.
So multiply by that.
Yeah.
So
So let's say 360
5.
years times 100.
Right.
Yeah. So that many years.
So approximately.
Approximately. Yeah.
Approximately how many?
36,000.
36,000?
Our years.
years.
Not 10,000. I have a number of 10,000 usually.
You have a special context. So anyway, he does that, and his yoga position is standing on toes and putting his hands like, it's not easy, just to stand. It's like Tadasana, but with on the toes. Yeah. So you can do it for a while, but you can't do it for
Keeping the hands up is.
Huh?
Keeping the hands
Stand up, but it is painful. Yeah, takes 3.
Just to gain power.
How can you go up? Go up. 3. Oh, sorry. Jata Devi Tibira Reje. Samvartarkai Vamshubihi. Tasmin Tapastapyamane. Devasthanani Bhejire.
From the hair on Hiranyakashipu's head, there emanated an effulgent light as brilliant and intolerable as the rays of the sun, the time of dissolution. Seeing the performance of such austere penances, the demigods who had been wandering throughout the planets now returned to their respective homes. So, very powerful. Very quickly, it seems, like, torchlight coming out of his head like that. This is like more than that. It's like a sun, intolerable, very, so bright. So even the demigods who were disturbed, they went to their respective boats. Text 4.
तस्य मूर्धना समुद्भूतः
तस्य मूर्धना समुद्भूतः
साधूमोऽग्निस्तपोमयः
सदुमोऽग्निस्तपोमयः
दीर्यगूर्ध्वम् अधोलोकान्
धीर्यगूर्ध्वमधोलोकान्
प्रातपद्विश्ववीरितः
प्रातपद्विश्ववीरितः. Because of Hiranyakashipu's severe austerities, fire came from his head, and this fire and its smoke spread throughout the sky, encompassing the upper and lower planets, which all became extremely hot. So it's like one of those firecrackers. The head will blow and a lot of fire will come out. Something like that. So you can imagine, it's a severe austerity. Text 5.
चुक्षुपूर्णाद्युदन्वन्तः साध्वीपात्रिस्ततालभूः निपेतुः सग्रहास्तारा जज्वालुश्च दिशो दश.
Because of the power of his severe austerities, all the rivers and oceans were agitated. The surface of the globe, with its mountains and islands, began trembling, and the stars and planets fell. All directions were ablaze. So very severe. Text 6.
तेन तप्तादिवं त्यक्त्वा ब्रह्मलोकं ययुःसुराः धात्रे विज्ञापयानासु देवदेव जगत्पते दैत्येन्द्र तपसा तप्त दिवि स्थातुं न शक्नुमः.
Scorched and extremely disturbed because of Hiranyakashipu's severe penances, all the demigods left the planets where they reside and went to the planet of Lord Brahma, where they informed the Creator as follows. A lot of the demigods or master of the universe, because of the fire emanating from Hiranyakashipu's head as a result of severe austerities, we have become so disturbed that we could not stay in our planets, but have come to you. So the heat from his austerity is disturbing the upper planetary system. So they went to ask Brahma what to do. Text 7.
तस्य चोपशमं भूमन्
तस्य चोपशमं भूमन्
विदेहि यदि मन्यसे लोकानयावन्नक्ष्यन्ति बलिहारस्तवाभिः.
O great person, chief of the universe, if you think it proper, kindly stop these disturbances meant to destroy everything before all your obedient subjects are annihilated. In one sense, they were very afraid. It's curious also. Generally, when some sages do austerities, Indra will go and disturb. And we don't find that happening here because they're all afraid of Hiranyakashipu. He is very powerful. Text 8.
तस्यायं किल संकल्प शरतो दुश्चरं तपः श्रूयतां किं न विदितः तवातापि निवेदितम्.
Hiranyakashipu has undertaken a most severe type of austerity. Although his plan is not unknown to you, kindly listen as we submit his intentions. So Brahma already knew, but still they were petitioning him. Texts 9 and 10.
सृष्ट्वा चराचरम् इदम् तपो योग समाधिना अध्यास्ते सर्वधिष्णेभ्यः हरमेष्टि निजासनम् तदहं वर्धमानेन तपो योगा समाधिना कालात्मनोश्च नित्यत्वात् साधयिष्ये तथात्मनः.
The Supreme Person within this universe, Lord Brahma, has gotten his exalted force by dint of severe austerities, mystic power, and trance. Consequently, after creating the universe, he has become the most worshipable demigod within it. Since I am eternal and time is eternal, I shall endeavor for such austerity, mystic power, and trance for many, many births, and thus I shall occupy the same post occupied by Lord Brahma. So the demigods are saying what is in the mind of Hiranyakashipu.
Because they control the mind.
Huh?
Because they control the mind.
Not
of
they, I mean,
demigods.
there's one or two of them control, so they
Yeah.
can
Figure it out.
exchange the nodes like that. So anyway, they realize he has this desire to get rid of his own grandfather. Right? He's the son of Kashyapa. Kashyapa is son of Brahma, so he wants to get rid of his own grandfather. And so he says two things. He will say, I will do this austerity for many, many births until I get the position.
Ready for it.
So he understands the nature of the spirit soul, that it is imperishable, which is what he says in the beginning. Yeah. I am eternal and time is eternal. So I have a lot of time to do this austerity.
Can be multiple.
Yeah. So you can see the determination is very good, good determination. But for the
Wrong cause.
wrong purpose. Yeah, wrong purpose is not correct. For wrong reasons he's doing. So the demigods are not happy with this situation because they are happy with this Brahma. Just like sometimes you have a leader who's helping and everyone's happy, and then somebody wants to replace that leader, only the rest of the group gets very unhappy, right? Even in your company, you have a nice boss, and then he says, "Oh, I'm going to be replaced." The rest of them gets very agitated. So similarly, the demigods feeling agitated. But in this case, they know the type of Brahma who's going to become from Hiranyakashipu. He's really a rascal. So therefore, they are very afraid. So he's intelligent. He has the knowledge of the Vedas, but he is not a devotee. So sometimes you'll find people may have all these good qualities, but if they are not devotees, they'll do the wrong things or very nasty things.
So can a person with Demoid mentality become Brahma? Because Brahma position is a very responsible position that Lord gives.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. By doing this severe austerities, then he
So
hopes
he's
to get.
thinking, he's hoping like
Yeah, he's hoping to get the same position. Artificially, he can do it. That's his thing, which he does it eventually. Text 11.
अन्यतेदं विदास्येऽहम्
अन्यतेदं विदास्येऽहम्
अयथा पूर्वमोजसा
अयथा पूर्वमोजसा
किं मन्ये कालनिर्धुतैः
किं मन्ये कालनिर्धुतैः
कल्पान्ते वैष्णवादिभिः
कल्पान्ते वैष्णवादिभिः.
By dint of my severe austerities, I shall reverse the results of pious and impious activities. I shall overturn all the established practices within this world. Even Dhruva Loka will be vanquished at the end of the millennium. Therefore, what is the use of it? I shall prefer to remain in the position of Brahma. So this is his determination. So basically he's saying, if you do pious activities, then he's going to make you suffer.
wrong
Yeah.
business.
So if you do sense enjoyment, then you get promoted to heavenly planets. So he wants to make everything upside down.
Just like government says they want to just change the policies the opposite.
Yeah, so yeah, it's true. So every year, if a different, every 4 years, a new government comes, they change everything.
They want to show the other guy is wrong.
Not like that. They just want to enjoy their benefits. Nowadays, nobody cares for other guys. So, right? They just want to know you're my friend, we'll help each other. So that's what. So now a business guy is in the president. So he's trying to make business things successful.
So Prabhu, he is saying that Dhruvaloka will be vanquished at the end of millennium.
Yeah.
That is
That's all.
understandable, but he doesn't know about Brahmaloka.
No, Dhruvaleka itself is.
It's
That
a spirit.
Brahmaloka will also be gone after annihilation, partial annihilation, and full annihilation. So that thing is also gone. So he doesn't know. He knows about Dhruvaloka, but he doesn't know about Brahmaloka.
No, he also knows that everything goes. They have the same knowledge, but he says he prefers to be Brahma. Yeah,
But
that's
this
his.
part is misunderstood. The Voloka won't be inherited.
That is also not correct. The Dhruvaloka won't disappear also because it's a
Spiritual life.
special planet for Dhruva given to by the Lord himself. It's a spiritual planet within the universe. So he doesn't know that also. Because he knows his Dhruva has achieved that. So he's saying,
doesn't like it.
yeah, so he's like, even that will go away. That's his. Sometimes they will say things, right? Like there's a story about the fox trying to get the grapes. And then the fox couldn't get it. So then when he's walking away, he says sour grapes. In case others will hear. So in the same way, he can't get it. So he's saying it will also be increased. Yeah, the atheists are like that. They feel that, they don't understand. I mean, in the previous verse, he says, we are all eternal. Time is eternal. So he knows they get destroyed and recreated again. So he feels his understanding is, since you asked the question, is that Brahma goes to sleep, right? Then there's some destruction of universal. So all the planets will be destroyed. But Brahma wakes up and recreates them. So that's what he's thinking. So his knowledge seems to be, at this juncture, it seems that he only knows up to that point. Yeah. So as far as he's concerned, Brahma is the creator. So he creates. And then when he sleeps, then there's partial annihilation. So many planets get destroyed. So he's thinking even Dhruvaloka is gone. And then when he wakes up, he can create what he wants. But he's saying by his austerity, he's able to do all these things also. That's another point he's trying. But he doesn't understand, like you said, there's already an established fact that even Brahma's planet will be gone at the end of the life of Brahma. So at this point, he doesn't know that even Brahma's life is limited. Okay, he's thinking Brahma is eternal being. Yeah,
so he wants to become that. So that he becomes.
Yeah, so that's his conclusion. So that's what but look at his determination. It's amazing.
Multi-lifetime.
If we have this determination, we can go back to Varsha.
That's what I think.
Text 12.
इति शुश्रूमनिर्बन्धम् तपः परममास्तिकः विधात् स्वानन्तरं युक्तम् स्वयं त्रिभुवनेश्वर
O Lord, we have heard from reliable sources that in order to obtain your post, Hiranyakashipu is somebody's car, is now engaged in severe austerity. You are the master of the three worlds. Please, without delay, take whatever steps you deem appropriate. So they want him to stop him, actually. Okay. Now, this is a very nice purport that Srila Prabhupada writes, and I'd like to read that so you all can appreciate what Srila Prabhupada wants to tell us. And it's a very good purport. The whole purport is very nice too. In the material world, a servant is provided for by the master. Means the master gives him whatever he needs. So that's what it means by provided for by the master. But is always planning how to capture the master's post. So it appears the psychology of a servant is that they are always thinking how I can be the master. In the material world, people are like, just like you're working, in an office, you may be thinking, I'm a better boss than this guy. It's like that. It appears, the guy is talking, doesn't know I can do. So that's Prabhupada's point. This is the psychology. There have been many instances of this in history, meaning how they tried to take over the master's post, especially in India during the Mohammedan rule. Many servants, by plans and devices, took over the posts of their masters. So they do some planning. They either kill them. Devices means poisoning and stuff like that. It is learned from Chaitanya literature that one big Zamindar, Subuddhi Raya, kept a Mohammedan boy as a servant. Of course, he treated the boy as his own child. And sometimes, when the boy would steal something, the master would chastise him by striking him with a cane. There was a mark on the boy's back from this chastisement. Later, after that boy had, by crooked means, become Hussein Shah, Nawab of Bengal, one day his wife saw the mark on his back and inquired about it. So he became like the king of Bengal, you know. And by what? Crooked means. So his wife saw the mark that who gave him? Subuddhi? Right, yeah. So then she wants to know what happened. So the Nawab replied that in his childhood, he had been a servant of Subuddhi Raya, who had punished him because of some mischievous activities. But he didn't say what the activities was, right? He actually stole something. Upon hearing this, the Nawab's wife immediately became agitated and requested her husband to kill Subuddhi Raya. Nawab Hussein Shah, of course, was very grateful to Subuddhi Raya and therefore refused to kill him. But when his wife requested him to turn Subuddhi Raya into a Mohammedan, the Nawab agreed. So taking some water from his water pot, he sprinkled it upon Subuddhi Raya and declared that Subuddhi Raya had now become a Mohammedan. So they think you can just sprinkle water and make people Muslim.
This happened in Seattle also, Prabhu.
Yeah.
We went for some kirtan and university
And they sprinkle water.
Not on me, but Radhika Gopinath Prabhu was doing book distribution.
Oh yeah, he told us.
Right, so he was talking about it and he just sprinkled water that you are a Muslim now. Radhika Gopinath Prabhu said, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Haribol. Now you should listen to me. You should say, now I'm a Muslim, I'm telling you.
Once happened to me after somebody is trying to baptize me.
Oh, baptize you.
So, how do we understand that?
There's nothing to really understand. It's just that they don't know what they're saying. The lack of understanding, lack of the philosophy. One doesn't just become a devotee, right? We cannot just claim we are devotee. We have to do what pleases Krishna. We have to follow the rules and regulations. Then we can at least say we are following in the footsteps. Still, to say we are devotee is a very high stage. But for general purpose and for general audience, we say we are devotees. Just like we cannot say we are truly Vaishnavas, practicing Vaishnavas, like that. So yeah, so when they say, oh, I'm baptizing you, then you can say, yeah, try your best, you know. You know? Or you don't have to say anything. You can say thank you very much, you know, because you can't really. Just because I say you're not Muslim doesn't mean you're thinking of Allah or something. No, it doesn't happen like that. Obviously, you are thinking of Allah, but as Krishna. Yeah. So yeah, we shouldn't get worried about such things. If you study the scripture properly, you know there are methodologies to approach the Supreme Lord. So each level of different groups within the human society, they try to approach God according to their limited knowledge and capacity. And so they formulate some system. And of course, if you read the scripture, it says there are scriptures for both the Rajaguna and Tamaguna also. So people use those things to at least understand Godhead. So you have to figure out which level these personalities are talking about. And if you're already in the mode of goodness, how can somebody simply sprinkling water say you have gone down to a different guna like that? So it doesn't work like that. Of course, if they sprinkle some unclean water, you just sprinkle back Ganga water and that's it. So anyway, this is how they used to do in India, and the people those days, without proper knowledge, would say, now I am Muslim. Yeah, so then they follow all those things. But the point here that Srila Prabhupada wants to make is that the Nawab had been an ordinary menial servant of Subuddhi Raya, but was somehow or other able to occupy the supreme post of Nawab of Bengal. This is the material world. Everyone is trying to become master through various devices, although everyone is servant of his senses. Prabhupada is trying to say even Hiranyakashipu at that stage, he has so much knowledge, Vedic knowledge, still he is subject to his anger and his senses. So he's following that. So we have to appreciate this happens even in our lifetimes, and we can see this in various ways that's happening in society. So that's his point, and we need to recognize those things. Why it's necessary for us to recognize? Then we know that we are not servants of the Lord, but servants of our senses. That's the point here. So following this system, a living entity, or the servant of his senses, tries to become master of the whole universe. Hiranyakashipu was a typical example of this, and Brahma was informed by the demigods of his intentions. Why? Because the demigods are also...
Servants of the Lord. They were worried.
Yeah, why? Because they are also into a little bit of sense enjoyment. They are known as Sakama Bhaktas. Sakama means they still have some enjoying tendency to enjoy their senses a little bit. But they are Bhaktas.
Mishra Bhaktas.
Yeah, they are Mishra Bhaktas. Text 13.
Tavasanam vijagavam Parameshtam jagatpate Bhavaya shreyase bhutyai Shemaya vijayaya cha.
O Lord Brahma, the position within this universe is certainly most auspicious for everyone, especially the cows and brahmanas. Brahminical culture and the protection of cows can be increasingly glorified, and thus all kinds of material happiness, opulence, and good fortune will automatically increase. But unfortunately, if Hiranyakashipu occupies your seat, everything will be lost. Don't do that. Don't waste your time doing that. Okay, you can see one thing here. Dvija Gavam Para Mestyam. Srila Prabhupada also highlights that word. That means Brahmanas and Brahminical culture are very important. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Following the Brahminical culture, whatever Krishna actually told us to.
Why is it important?
Because that will make sure that the society is going in the right
Society.
Too general. No, you all.
Society basically like so some Brahmanas will teach the others, so that the Brahmanas are not practicing what they're supposed to. There's nobody else to teach them.
Yeah.
Then everybody takes the path, whatever they like, or they.
Yeah, but still, you got someone, right? You're saying they will take what path?
Follow scriptures.
Whatever
They follow
comfortable them.
scriptures.
They don't follow
They
scripture. If there's no Brahmanas, that's what he's saying.
No, they will basically give the interpretation whatever is convenient for the leaders.
So what does it mean if it's convenient for this?
It's basically atheistic. They don't are more of course into satisfy this.
No, Brahmanas are supposed to make populace God conscious.
Yes.
So
Krishna
when
conscious.
Okay.
So they know how to do it and they show by example.
Okay. If they are not around.
If they're not around, there's no leaders to follow.
Varnashrama will not be preserved
Varnashrama will
anymore.
be destroyed. Right?
Okay. So what happens?
Means then people will become
Atheistic. More
exactly
sense
opposite of
enjoyment.
God, sense gratification. Then
Yeah.
lose-
I'm asking you all because you all also think, don't just.
this side of
I want to
something.
know how you all think also. Right? Otherwise, you'll just be like, I don't know what, the recording or what. No, the Brahminical culture, all of you are right. The thing is, if there's no Brahminical culture, then the other culture is what?
Atheistic culture.
Huh?
It's not
No,
culture.
Yeah, but then we let's say it's a no culture, but what kind of no culture is that?
Karma.
Materialism.
Not necessarily.
Materialism. Basically,
Puja.
problem.
No.
Non-Brahminical culture.
We know that. So what is that culture? Non-Brahminical culture.
Atheist.
Huh?
Vaishya, Kshatriya.
No.
Asuric.
Okay, Asura, but what is it? If you go and talk to someone, you say Asura, they know, is it?
Atheist.
What is that? No God. So what is the culture?
Sense enjoyment.
Exactly. If there's no Brahminical culture, then it becomes automatically
Gratification.
only for senses. So whatever pleases my senses, I will do it. So that is the philosophy. It is like that. You look at society now, most people will do what pleases them, right? If they doesn't like it, they won't do it. But if it's God conscious culture, even if you don't like to do it, you will do it because it's beneficial for the Lord, right? Like you fast half a day or one day, you don't like it actually. But it pleases Krishna. It pleases the spiritual master. So we do that. So that is the Brahminical culture. That's one thing. What else do you understand from their statements?
Cows will not be protected in the society.
Okay, so why are they worried about the cows?
Because cows, the mother cows has the whole universe in it. Everything resides in cows, demigods. It's worshipable.
Okay. Okay, you say, and then you cannot say after that. You're always interrupting others.
Let others speak.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Why cows?
Because
I mean, she's right.
She means cow can sustain we can sustain over the products of the cows,
Good.
milk and butter
That is true.
and all that.
Yeah.
So, and
What's the main ingredient?
milk,
Main ingredient of cow.
grass,
मिल्क
main ingredient
खाओ से हमें सबसे पहले क्या मिलता है
Blood.
Milk मिलता है
milk,
हाँ
What is the main ingredient cow gives?
milk,
And then from milk, what you get?
ghee, butter,
The end product is finally ghee.
Sacrifice.
So ghee is used for
Sacrifice.
right or not? And sacrifice to who?
Lord Vishnu.
Yeah, but then who gets the benefits?
The community gets it.
Which
Which is how we get the
Huh?
name.
society in general.
Society.
The people who were sacrificed did
Yeah, they get, what do they get? They get the rain.
Rain.
Yeah, but why the demigods are worried about that?
because they don't.
They will not get
Yeah.
their part.
They will not get
They
their
will not get their part.
That's the one of the main. So this is Sakama. I'm trying to make you understand why even the demigods are worried about it. They are worried about the Brahminic culture, but they also have some motivation. This is the nature of a Sakama devotee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was reading. Why are they worried about protection of cows? Because because they are not getting their part.
Their part. That's the main reason, I would say. But in essence, it's true. If Brahminic culture goes, then the worship of Vishnu is also destroyed to a larger extent. And then, of course, like Arjuna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what happens if the culture traditions are lost? Then everything degrades. Yeah. So then you get Varnashram or just uncultured people, and everything will come to it. Therefore, they were worried about that. So they were right in one sense, but there's also some selfish motivation. So you also have to understand that. So the other thing is, Prabhupada writes, that the Lord Brahma is also one of the reason this. He says the demigods knew that if demons and Rakshasas were to occupy the supreme post, Brahminical culture and protection cows would come to end. They were worried about demons and Rakshasas because demons and Rakshasas are focused on what? Sense gratification. And then they will deny the existence of God. Atheistic. Like that. So therefore, they want to make sure that this doesn't happen. The Lord therefore knows particularly well how to develop the material condition of the living entities. That means every living entity has a personality. And then what is good for you, the Lord knows. But if a demon or a Rakshasa takes over the position, they're not going to guide society for the benefit of each individual. That's the other point that Srila Prabhupada is highlighting. So therefore, they don't want someone who is not in line with the desires of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so they don't want a Rakshasa because he is not going to accept what the Lord has planned for. So therefore, they are worried that this person will go against what is required. Okay, the Vedic knowledge will be confused. Lord Brahma is supposed to teach the Vedic knowledge to who? To all his
sons, children.
disciples yes, disciples, yeah, and sons. Yeah. So, but if you have a Rakshasa sitting as a Brahma, then you know that the knowledge will all be contaminated, watered down, and for the wrong reasons like that. Okay. So then you will get confused personalities trying to control society, etc., etc., like that. Okay. Not only confused people, but people who are after their own selfish desires. So you can see like that how the CEO runs a company, right? CFO, CTO, whatever their position is. They are doing it for themselves only, because even if the company goes to hell, they will get their golden parachute. Yeah. So that's the problem here. The welfare of the people are not looked into. Vedic culture is always like that. No matter who the authority is, the welfare of the common people or people under them are ensured that they get the best. What is that best? That means they are able to understand their position within the hierarchy, one thing, and they also understand their nature properly. Why they need to know that? So that they can serve the Supreme Lord to the best of their capacity. Like that. So that is the difference. But if someone is like a sense enjoyer, he's not interested. He sees everyone as competitor. So the less competition you have, the more you can enjoy. So that is the philosophy of the demons and the Rakshasas. And so the demigods were not pleased with that. Because then ultimately also there won't be any practice of the yajna and so on. And so at that, in Satya Yuga will become like Kali Yuga. The degradation will be there. And so they were worried that the whole thing will be spoiled because of Hiranyakashipu.
So sometimes people question and argue, say, in Western world, they have more wealth and more uplands, so they're not doing any yajnas here. So how do we understand that?
Sometimes,
Like in the Western world, like America, these countries, they have a lot of wealth and they can live life richly compared to other parts of the world. But
IT, no.
But then, okay.
IT.
Even
Even they may not do yajna and all, but they are doing other kinds of pious activities. Americans are considered to be the best in the world for charity.
That's the result of karmic result of that.
Whatever, karma, whatever, but you'll find they always give a lot of charity. Yeah, Red Cross, people cheat from them, but they still give a lot of money. A lot of pious people are here who took birth here. Yeah. Like that.
Like 10% they have from the
Church.
They say 10% of the income,
Goes into the pocket of the priest.
whatever.
But
They do it. Yeah.
they get the fighting.
So anyway, from historical point of view, in Brahma's situation, many times Brahma is attacked by demons, right? So Prabhupada gives one example is Madhu and Kaitapa. They also wanted to take over Brahma's position, but Vishnu came and destroyed them. So here also they're hoping that somehow or other Brahma will take immediate steps to stop Hiranyakashipu instead of him becoming powerful and then causing the problem. But anyway, it's interesting what happens later on. You'll see. So at the end of this paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, at the present, especially on this planet, Earth, the influence of Lord Brahma has decreased considerably. That means the Brahminical culture. And the representatives of Hiranyakashipu, the Rakshasas and demons have taken charge. So a lot of people are like Hiranyakashipu. Prabhupada says we are all like, in this small Hiranyakashipu. Because he is very powerful. We are not as powerful. They say we are all small, have taken charge. Therefore, there is no protection of Brahminical culture and cows, which are the basic prerequisites for all kinds of good fortune. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is this point about Brahminical culture. It enhances the mode of goodness for everyone. Whether you are Shudra, whether you are Kshatriya, Vaishya, by following the Brahmin culture, everyone's good qualities rises, but because they're all cooperating together to please the Supreme Lord. This age in Kali Yuga, Prabhupada says, is very dangerous because society is being managed by demons and Rakshasas and robots. Drones.
It's not there.
It's not there. I just wanted to see your reaction. That's all. Text 14.
इति विज्ञापितो देवै भगवानात्मभूनृप हरितो भृगुदक्षाद्यै ययौ दैत्येश्वराश्रमम्.
O king, being thus informed by the demigods, the most powerful Lord Brahma, accompanied by Bhrigu, Daksha, and other great sages, immediately started for the place where Hiranyakashipu was performing his penances and austerities. So immediately they left to take care of the situation. So in another sense also, you also have to see, sometimes you may have issues and situations and you may not be able to fix it. So you need to go to a higher authority. So the demigods personally didn't tangle with Hiranyakashipu because he was a powerful personality. As an Asura, he is very powerful. Without the austerities, he is already very powerful. So they didn't want to entangle with him. So they went to Brahma and say, you can stop him, because you are the topmost demigod here. So therefore, they approach him. So we also have to see like that. Not all situations we can fix. Sometimes we may discuss something, but we shouldn't get overwhelmed by our own anger situations like that. And then we will say no, and have into a big fights or whatever. Best is to go to our authority and say, please help me. I do not know how to fix that. And then let them do. If they can do something, good. If they can't, then you have to see, I've tried this way, I've tried that way. Maybe I have to just tolerate. Instead of going and buying a AR-15 and then coming and settling the problem. It's okay. We don't do like that. And it's pointless doing like that. Text 15 and 16.
Nadadarsha praticchannam Valmiki trinakicakaihi Pipilikaabhe achirnam Nedastvan mamsashonitam Tapantam tapasalokan Yathabrapihitam ravim Vilakshya vismita praha Asamstam hamsavahana.
Lord Brahma, who is carried by a swan airplane. Okay, so that is his vehicle. Brahma always is on a swan. Who else is on a swan? Saraswati? Yeah. I think I've seen.
Yeah, there is always a Brahma.
Because she's with
Yeah.
carried by swan airplane. At first, could not see where Hiranyakashipu was, for Hiranyakashipu's body was covered by an ant hill and by grass and bamboo sticks. Because Hiranyakashipu had been there for a long time, the ants had devoured his skin, fat, flesh, and blood. Then Lord Brahma and the demigods spotted him, resembling a cloud-covered sun, heating all the world by his austerity. Struck with wonder, Lord Brahma began to smile and then addressed him as follows. So even Lord Brahma was amazed by his austerity. Because the guy has lost his body, everything's gone. Only maybe bones is sticking there. And even after some time, even that bone will go. So that is also another way you can understand that the soul, you are not the body. So it's another way, simply by quoting even Hiranyakashipu's austerity, you can say it's a proof that you are not the body. Because when Brahma starts talking to him, he can talk. like that. So anyway, you can see he performed the severe austerity for many years, and Prabhupada says, indeed, it is said that he performed the tapasya for 100 heavenly years. Okay, it's written there. So anyway, we calculate that to be around 36,000 Earth years. Yeah. So generally, if you look at it, Srila Prabhupada says Daitya and Rakshasa. So Rakshasa, whenever he uses the word Daitya, Rakshasa, we should understand they are not worshippers of the Brahminical culture, so to speak. They may be following some Vedic culture, but they are not really for Brahminical culture. They can be atheistic also, like that. Just like, because Diti and Kashyapa are his parents, they are following Brahminical culture. But look at the son, So Rakshasa and Daitya generally means not a devotee, but a sense enjoyer, sense gratifier. Okay? So instead of calling someone demon or Rakshasa, you can say you are a Huh? You can say Daitya. Okay, you can say you are a sense enjoyer. Or you can say you are a Danava. I heard you are a Muslim guy now. Now remember you told us the first time you got
Yeah. I have been initiated into Islam and Christianity also.
Yeah. So you can preach to them. You can say you're already baptized and Muslimized.
Yeah, last night, this gentleman came to our center, African American security guard. He said, I believe in Bible, but I'm taking your Gita. So he took a Gita and went.
There you go, because you are now qualified to preach. That's good.
Cross community people.
You also come to Hariola. Just converted.
What is your name, bro?
Anyway, the other point I want you to understand in this purport also is Srila Prabhupada, he explains in the last paragraph, is that just because you can do severe austerities doesn't mean you become a man of goodness. Okay?
Hitler.
Hmm?
Hitler was an example.
Huh?
Hitler was an example.
Of
He
what?
used to follow strict rules.
Really, I don't know. So it seems Hitler also did a lot of austerities.
Yeah, he's supposedly vegetarian. He was,
No,
but then he was very strict in these kind of aspects.
Yeah, so that you can see also, like I was saying, a lot of people may have a lot of power and position. They may be following very strictly many things. Because they are regimented and strictly, they are able to control their senses to do certain things, but they are actually not in control of the senses. Okay, they are able to control for a specific enjoyment, like that. So that's the difference. But it doesn't change a man to goodness or devotee. How can someone become a person of goodness or a devotee? Advaita. How do you become a person of goodness or a devotee?
By performing devotional service.
By performing devotional service. How else?
By chanting the holy name of the Lord.
Okay, that is taking up the process. Yeah. But otherwise, how do you make someone in the mode of goodness? Huh?
Rising up early.
Yeah, so there are certain things that are not necessarily devotional practices, but they are regimentations that give you the ability to be in the mode of goodness also.
Vegetarian.
Yes, things like that. Good. Right? You have other examples?
Just like you have to show a good example, but it doesn't have to be like so spiritual. It just has to be like
Example.
Waking up early, taking good shower, not like cold bath,
Cold.
not like once a month taking a bath every
You
day.
can get warm bath is okay. Hot is not good. Okay. So yeah, following all the cleanliness,
Yeah.
be clean, eating food that are in the mode of goodness.
Right.
So if you follow that, then naturally one can be in the mode of goodness. But it doesn't necessarily change their heart. That can only happen when you take up devotional service. So that's the difference you need to understand. So Hiranyakashipu did so much austerity, but he didn't change his heart. So the example Prabhupada gives is Prahlad Maharaj. He didn't do austerities at all. He just performed devotional service, Shravanam. And then he changed his heart. So we have to do devotional service to become a devotee. But you don't have to necessarily do to become a good person.
But even in ISKCON, there's some people, the minority, who do very great austerities, like Chaturmasya, they go to deep austerity, like that.
Those are corollaries, okay? They are there, but you don't need to do those things. As long as you preach, our austerity is to preach, to chant. Those are our main austerities. Yeah, because they don't do all those things, they do Chaturmasya. So, hopefully, it gives them benefit. I think in another 10 days, Purushottam Adhik, so everyone will do that. But when you say go out and book distribution, they cannot do that. But if you can do book distribution, all that the benefits are also there. Same thing.
So in other words, if we don't do, because I personally don't like to keep fast and everything, if I don't do Chaturmasya.
Do some preaching.
But you do book distribution, right? So that is good for us. She comes on Sankirtan.
Yeah, at least you do that. That's the point. To please Krishna. If Krishna is pleased, that's all you need, right?
But many sannyasis, apne ISKCON, they also do Chaturmas. They do Chaturmas. I've seen many of them. They do that.
Yeah, they can do. I'm saying you don't have to do. You just go and preach. You don't have to. And you can do.
Did Prabhupada do?
I've never read Prabhupada saying do that or not.
Did he do personally?
No, I've never read it. No, I've never read the word Purushottam in the conversations at all thus far. Maybe there is. I have never. But yeah, like you said, a lot of Maharajas and sannyasis do. The more knowledge you get, then you have the knowledge, then you have to use it. But if you just follow what Prabhupada says, then you become perfect, right? Yeah. For people who cannot do the austerities of going out in books and so on, then you better do some of these other austerities, like fasting and so on. So Purusha Adhik Mas, what are you going to do? Radha?
Chant extra rounds.
Huh?
Chant extra rounds.
So how many rounds are you doing? 8. So extra means?
Like
9.
9?
2 more.
2 more? Is that good enough?
I don't know.
Exactly, right? So you have to ask someone who thinks it's good enough or not. Right? I don't know, now all of you are planning what am I going to do. Right? You all are thinking what extra should I do. Austerity means it should be what?
Pleasing to the Lord.
Pleasing to the Lord, but not necessarily
Pleasing to you.
pleasing to you. So then one can say it is austere. But if it's pleasing to you, then it is not necessarily austere. So that means austerity means you do that just enough for you, you can manage to do it, not like that. So let's say you're doing 16 rounds. Now austerity means you should do 64. So you do maybe 25 rounds daily or 32 rounds daily. Then you find even you're working, you come, you because you took that, you stay up late chanting. So that's the kind of austerity that shows that you're serious about it. But if you say I do I'm so busy, I'll do 1 extra. But it's nothing, 1 extra. The more you do, the more you focus on that austerity. Right? Like look how many years he did this austerity. It was intense to get some result.
Material.
Yeah. So for us also we have to do in such a way that it pleases Krishna. So things that pleases Krishna will also please Srila Prabhupada. So that means book distribution, go out having home programs, different homes, go there, have kirtan and chant and talk about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like that. So the whole month of Purushottam Math, have one home program per day at different homes and preach, do some books there, tell them to buy, is good on that month. So in that way, at least people are comfortable in that kind of situation. Maybe not out in the street doing books. The more austerities you do, the more you gain actually. Okay? So that's the point I wanted to highlight in this. Yeah.
Chapter 15 Bhagavad Gita also in our temple we recite daily. Try to worship someone. Srinivasa
Every day?
Prabhu. I think so. Last time we did it. I think so.
Yeah, for some people just to come to temple is austerity.
Yeah.
So they can come there and chant. Yeah. Yeah, those are good. If you can do some chanting with a group, do something. Since it's already everybody knows about Purushottam Mass, so might as well use it, take advantage of it. Right? Okay, text 17.
Shri Brahmovacha
Shri Brahmovacha
Uttishtottishta Bhadram Te
Uttishtottishta Bhadram Te
Napasiddhosi Kashyapa
Tapasiddhosi Kashyapa
Bharadoham Manuprapto Priyatami Psito Varaha
Brahma said, O son of Kashyapa Muni, please get up, please get up. Uttisto, tista, right? You have to chant to the Supreme Lord when you wake him up. Huh? Yeah, so saying, so this is the way, he's telling the son of Kashyapa, please get up, please get up. All good fortune unto you. You are now perfect in the performance of your austerities, and therefore I may give you a benediction. You may now ask from me whatever you desire, and I shall try to fulfill your wish. So in the previous verse, if you have noticed, it says that Lord Brahma, Hasanstam Hansa Vahanam, Praha Hasans. There he became very pleased when he's smiling. Yeah, so he became very pleased with his austerities already. So in a sense, when you do austerities for someone, they will become pleased with you. But therefore, if you do austerities for Krishna, Krishna will be pleased with you. So this is one of the key ways you can, not only Krishna, if you do it for devotees also, you take your, lot of endeavor to buy a laptop for that devotee, like you were mentioning this morning, right? So much austerity one person is trying to coordinate and do. So that austerity, they become very pleased. And when the devotee becomes pleased, naturally Krishna is pleased. Yeah. So Brahma is pleased because he took austerity. He's like amazed, and so he says, now I'll give you whatever you want. So you have to be careful. When people please you, you cannot say whatever you want, I'll give you. Because then they may ask something you cannot give. Yeah. Then they will say, you said you will give. So where's your dharma? You are not a truthful person. Yeah. So it's like that. And this is part of the reason you will, if you remember last month, month before that, in the Ramayana, truthfulness was very important for who?
Brahma.
Rama. So who else? His father.
Yeah.
But that was the cause of his death also. But it showed that he wanted to maintain that thing properly. He wanted to show that this, no matter what you have to do. So therefore, when we say that I'm going to give whatever you desire, make sure you can fulfill that.
Yeah.
Yes, Advaita.
Why couldn't Brahma give accept immortality?
What? Why couldn't Brahma?
Brahma could have added you said you may ask me whatever you desire except immortality.
Yeah, but Brahma didn't think. That's the thing. Even though he's very intelligent, he didn't think.
I was thinking another thing too when I was reading this.
Yeah.
Why didn't Brahma ask, why did he jump asking, okay, you ask me whatever you want, I'll give you. Instead, he could have asked, I'm not actually like telling no one. He could have asked, please tell me why you are doing this, right? Like he could have.
Yeah, but remember, he already was pleased. Yeah. When he saw him do that kind of austerity, he was so amazed himself. So, in a sense, you can say Brahma himself was bewildered by that austerity of Hiranyakashipu. Now, remember, this is all in a sense, predestined already. So, Brahma is most intelligent. So, he's not able. You cannot say he got confused or what. So, it must be the will of Krishna. It's the will of Krishna.
And how do we understand the austerities when performing, even though it may be pleasing to a devotee, but it may not be pleasing to the Lord? That is, how do we make sure to draw the line?
In general, devotees will tell you why you're doing this austerity is not good for you. So Krishna will speak through those devotees. Now, if you don't, generally, before you do austerity, you'll have to ask permission first. Right? Like for us, our austerities, Prabhupada already said what we are supposed to do. But beyond and above and beyond, then you ask your spiritual master, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand on my head for 1 hour for every day of Purushottam Mas. Guru Maharaj, please give me your blessing. So then your Guru will say, oh, very nice, Om Tat Sat, Or he says, you rascal, why are you doing that? Right. Exactly. So it's like that. You ask a devotee or advanced devotee, and they will tell you, don't do this foolish things. But if you go and look for a person who's like you, doing all these foolish things, naturally they will say, yeah, do this austerity. So that is also foolishness. Right or not?
Let's do it together.
Yeah, let's do it together. Or, like maybe one sannyas, he's very austere sannyas and you don't, and then you go and say, I want to do it. Of course he is going to say, yeah, because he's doing it. But you have to ask people who are your well-wishers, who you know in your heart, they are always going to guide you properly. So those are the personalities you ask before you do some austerity. Remember when Arjuna took a vow to kill Jayadratha, what did Krishna tell him? He said, you foolish guy, why you make such a vow?
Why did you want?
Yeah, why did you make such a vow? Why are you just like that? So then again, a big upadesham there. And then after that, Krishna had to intervene to help him out by doing the eclipse, Yeah. So, because Name Bhakta Pranashyati. So the Bhakta sometimes does stupid thing, the Lord has to come and protect him, So in any case, yeah. So here he says whatever you desire. And that was not a good thing to say. My point is, learn from the acharyas that they are showing us that sometimes even they can make simple mistakes. And then the consequence is a lot of people suffer from the simple mistakes. So we also, when we make statements, we have to self-analyze the statements carefully to make sure that when we say that, we should not say it in such a way that we are compromised later on. Or if you know you made a mistake, you can go and say, I'm sorry, I said that, and ask for forgiveness. Yes.
Yeah, it says, and I shall try to fulfill your desire. Yeah, so first he's asking whatever you want.
Yes.
So he's saying you can have anything.
Funny, no?
And
Contradictory,
he's saying,
right?
But I'll try to do it.
He reads very carefully.
So he should have said, I will fulfill
Yeah,
it. So therefore, anyway, he was smart to say that I shall try to fulfill this.
Prabhuji, another point. When you are very pleased or very, 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 very happy, you don't make decisions.
Yes. Yeah, because you're overwhelmed, You are so happy that that person is so...
won't work.
Yeah. So that's one way. If you want to please someone, you glorify them a lot. And then you ask them something. So they become overwhelmed with your glory. And then you say, please donate, please give a check of 10,000 for our temple. Oh, okay,
Yes.
no problem.
Okay, no problem.
So that Prabhupada says sometimes we have to please the demons, and then you give them, and then you tell them, and they're like, okay, no problem. Then they'll say, hey, wait a minute.
So Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur used this technique.
Yeah. No, Prabhupada also does that. The devotees in the early days were doing like that also. Yeah.
So on that essay of Brahmana versus Vaishnava. So he went to a conference where all the Brahmanas came. They actually
he praised the Brahmanas first.
Brahmanas first and Brahmanas are pleased.
Yeah. Then he defined what a Vaishnava is.
And everybody accepted that.
Yeah. Then they realized they were not as great as they used to be. Text 18.
Adraksham mahametam te.
Adraksham mahametam te.
Kritsaram mahadadbhutam.
Kritsaram mahadadbhutam.
Dhamsabakshita dehasya.
Dhamsabakshita dehasya.
Pranahyastishu serate.
Pranahyastishu serate.
I have been very much astonished to see your endurance. So, this is another point, We get amazed by what sometimes some devotees can do, and then that can overwhelm our intelligence also. In spite of being eaten and bitten by all kinds of worms and ants, you are keeping your life air circulating within your bones. Certainly, this is wonderful. So you can see the qualification of this Hiranyakashipu. Now, in general, yogis can do this. So Prabhupada says there have been many actual examples of yogis been buried in trance and exhumed alive and in good condition several hours later. A yogi can keep himself alive in a transcendental state even if buried not only for many days but for many years. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada also indicates that Lord Christ also was done in the same way. That he was crucified and later they buried him and then 3 days later he came out. Now, there's no proof, we don't know, but there's rumors like that. So he says if he had done it, then he is also a great yogi. Like that. Yeah. Text 19.
Naitat purvashayastrakro.
Naitat purvashayastrakro.
Na karishyanti chapare.
Na karishyanti chapare.
Nirambur dharaye pranan.
Nirambur dharaye pranan.
Ovai divya samasatam.
Ovai divya samasatam.
Even saintly persons like Brigu, born previously, could not perform such severe austerities. Nor will anyone in the future be able to do so. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? So this is the second time it is stated that he did his austerities for 100 celestial years. Yes.
How much is one celestial year?
We discussed that.
36,000. No,
360.
36,000.
No, he's asking.
3,600 of man years.
No, he asked one
That is 1 year. No?
From 1 year.
Prabhu, I calculated just now. My answer is coming 2,019,000. I can show you my calculation.
Later on, we will discuss. Okay. So we are saying like a day of a demigod, 24 hours of a demigod day is
6 months.
6 months.
No.
1 day.
Oh, demigod.
1 year.
1 year.
Yes, 1 year.
24 hours demigod is 1 year of earth years.
Oh yeah, you're right. It will be 1.
That means one celestial year will be 3,650.
I don't care what close approximation we are talking. You can work it out to the second, nanoseconds. It's fine. As long as we know it's a big number. Text 20.
Vyavasayena tenena.
Vyavasayena tenena.
Dushkarena manasvinam.
Dushkarena manasvinam.
Taponishthena bhavata.
Taponishthena bhavata.
Jitoham ditinandana.
Jitoham ditinandana.
My dear son of Diti, with your great determination and austerity, you have done what was impossible even for great saintly persons, and thus I have certainly been conquered by you. So, Jita. He's conquered. So now you understand why Brahma feels. He's like, oh man, this guy's so cool, man.
He's not envious.
Yeah, he's not envious. That's right. He's so
Like Indra.
so nice. He can do that. So now I'll give you whatever. You have impressed me.
In fact, he knows from the demigods that he
Yeah,
wants
he
actually
wants the
position.
post.
Yes,
Yes.
and I was thinking about it.
Yes.
If Indra hota, so you would have made such
That
a
is
mess.
Brahma.
Yeah.
That is Brahma.
Yeah. So Lord Brahma here is not envious. He knows this guy wants his poem, but still he's so impressed with his austerity. And this is, I'll give you whatever you want. Yeah. Text 21.
ततस्त आशिष सर्व
ततस्तमाश्रितः सर्वा
ददाम्यासुरपुङ्गव
ददाम्यासुरपुङ्गव
मर्त्यस्य देह्यमृतस्य
मर्त्यस्य देह्यमृतस्य
दर्शनं नाफलं मम
दर्शनं नाफलं मम
O best of the asuras, for this reason I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, the audience with me will not go in vain. So, Prabhupada says it appears that human beings and asuras are subject to death. So, demigods are not. They just fall down from the heavenly planets. Or they go back home, back to Godhead according to their devotional service. The demigods who reside with Lord Brahma in Satyaloka go to Vaikuntha Loka in their present bodily constructions at the time of the dissolution. So that means those who are with Brahma and worshipping Narayana properly, they will go. Therefore, although Hiranyakashipu had undergone severe austerities, Lord Brahma predicted that he had to die. Because Brahma can see future also. He could not become immortal or even gain equal status with the demigods. The great austerities and penances he had performed for so many years could not give him protection from death. This was foretold by Lord Brahma. So Brahma already told him, you're going to die anyway.
So demigods in Satyaloka, they go back home in their ethereal bodies?
They will already have a spiritual body by the time they leave. Because practically it's very subtle, no, the body.
Ethereal, that's very light.
Ethereal. Yeah. So they'll discard that and go in the spiritual form. Text 22.
श्रीनारद उवाच
श्रीनारद उवाच
इत्युक्त्वादि भवो देवो
इत्युक्त्वादि भवो देवो
भक्षिताङ्गं पिपीलिकैः
भक्षिताङ्गं पिपीलिकैः
कमण्डलो जलेनोक्ष
कमण्डलो जलेनोक्षात्
दिव्येनामोघराजसा
दिव्येनामोघराजसा.
Sri Narada Muni continued. After speaking these words to Hiranyakashipu, Lord Brahma, the original being of this universe, who is extremely powerful, sprinkled transcendental, infallible spiritual water from his Kamundalu upon Hiranyakashipu's body, which had been eaten away by ants and moths. Thus he enlivened Hiranyakashipu. Right, so only Brahma can sprinkle, then you can say your caste is changed. Not some guy in the street. Right.
bottled water.
Bottle water. Or 7-Up. Something like that. So yeah, he's been there since the time of creation. The first being is the original being, Swayambhu. He is the firstborn. He was born from where?
The navel
Navel.
of Lord
Narayana.
yeah,
And how was he born?
lotus flower.
Lotus flower. No? Have you seen a lotus flower?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Brahma inside the lotus?
No.
Why not? Why not?
Because that's not the real one.
That's not the original lotus
Yeah.
flower.
That's not the first lotus flower.
That lotus flower is coming from the ground. This lotus flower is coming from Narayana. Yeah, so there's special lotus flower just for Brahma. So he took birth there. And from the Tene Brahma Ridi Adikave. So originally he was the first one to get the Vedic knowledge from Narayana or Krishna himself, like that. And no one was there to teach him. The knowledge was imparted in his Hriday Adikal, in the heart itself. Yeah. So he is not ordinary. It's very special. He's planted there by Narayan Vishnu to do this service. So he's a very special personality. So whatever he did, yeah, maybe a mistake and so on. Later on, you'll see what Hiranyakashipu tells him. But you'll see that he's still not like you and I. He's a special personality, and he's empowered by the Lord by his guna shaktis. Like that. He's an empowered person. He's Shaktivesh avatar. Yeah. So therefore, he's telling him, that I'm not going to die like you, but you will. Predicted. And now, because of his potency, so much power, Brahma actually creates all the different living entities in upper, lower, middle, and tells them this is what you're going to get. So it's no problem for him to give him a new body like that. So that's what he does with the Kamandalu. Yeah. Text 23.
Satatichakavalmika Saha Ojo Balanvitah Sarvavayana Sampanno Vajra Samhanano Yuva Uttita Stapta Hemavo Vibhavasur Ivaidasaha.
As soon as he was sprinkled with the water from Lord Brahma's water pot, Hiranyakashipu arose, endowed with a full body with limbs so strong that they could bear the striking of a thunderbolt. With the physical strength and a bodily luster resembling molten gold, he emerged from the anthill, a completely young man, just as fire springs from fuel wood. So amazing, the description. So if you do the austerities properly, you can get a good body also. But we are not interested in a strong body. We are interested in a
Strong
spiritual body. Right? You want to go back. Text 24.
To the extent all the schemes they have, fasting and these are all followers of Hiranyakashipu, kind of.
Like what?
Like generally we have a lot of outside people do this different kinds of fastings, books in the
For no good reason. Yeah. Some people do it, but there are many people in the mode of goodness also who do that. They come up with austerities for keeping a healthy body, and then they put it on YouTube, Facebook, telling people, do this, it helps you. So those are in the mode of goodness. They are in ignorance, but they have some goodness in them. Yeah. So not everyone who does austerity is a demon, but they have some goodness in them. But they're not necessarily maybe devotees. Okay? Yeah.
Sanirikshambare Devam Samsavaham Upastitam Nanama Shirasa Bhumao Darshana Mahotsavaha.
Seeing Lord Brahma present before him in the sky, carried by his swan airplane, Hiranyakashipu was extremely pleased. He immediately fell flat with his head on the ground and he began to express his obligation to the Lord. So he has some good qualities also. Yeah. Right? Not like he doesn't want to, thank Brahma. He's now going to glorify Lord Brahma. Okay? Like that. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, although Hiranyakashipu offered his obeisances onto Lord Brahma, he was strongly inimical toward Lord Vishnu. What does that mean, Sindhu?
He doesn't like Lord Vishnu.
He didn't like Lord Vishnu. Inimical means enemy.
He's the enemy.
The enemy of Lord Vishnu. Yeah. This is a symptom of an asura. Okay. Asuras are very powerful, but they don't like the Supreme Lord. Yes, they don't like that. The Prabhupada continues, Asuras worship the demigods has been separate from the Lord. So you can understand now why he was worshipping Lord Brahma. Okay. not knowing that all demigods are powerful because of being servants of the Lord. If the Supreme Lord were to withdraw the powers of the demigods would no longer be able to offer benedictions to their worshippers. So as a super soul, the Lord is in the heart of all the demigods. And he allows them to give benedictions by his potency. The demigods on their own, they cannot do it. It's only by the benediction of the Supreme Lord, like that. Okay, so that's the difference. They don't like the Supreme Lord and they become inimical to them. Of course, Srila Prabhupada quotes from the second canto that if you really desire some power, you can worship Vishnu himself. So he quotes the word Akama Sarva Kamo Moksha Kamo Daradi Tivrena Bhakti Yajate Purusha. So if you have a lot of intelligence, if you have so much material desires, or even if you are free of material desires, or even if you desire some liberation, he says the best thing to do is still worship the Supreme Lord. The Lord will give you what you desire, but he will only give you if you know how to use it properly. Okay. So sometimes you can pray for, Lord, give me a lot of money, I'll use it in your service, and you don't get it. Like Prabhupada himself says, he wanted to have a successful business so that he can make a lot of money to do preaching, but nothing happened. So it's like that. The Lord will only give you when you know how to use it. Or let's say you desire something material thing and it's not good for Krishna consciousness. You won't get it. So the Lord will help you become purified of that desire. Then he'll give you. Then after that, at that time you don't want it anymore. Yeah. So then you'll use it in the service of Krishna. Like that. So therefore, we should always worship Krishna or Narayana for our own benefit and the benefit of society. To do it for selfish reasons, look at the case of Hiranyakashipu. Text 25.
Uttaya pranjali prahva Ikshamano drisha vibhum Harshashro pulakobveda Giragadgadayagrana.
Then, getting up from the ground and seeing Lord Brahma before him, the head of the Daityas was overwhelmed by jubilation with tears in his eyes, his whole body shivering. He began praying in a humble mood with folded hands and a faltering voice to satisfy Lord Brahma. So he is also humble also. Text 26 and 27.
Sri Hiranyakashipurvacha Kalpante kala srishtena Yondena tamasavritam Avivyana jagat idam Swayam Jyotiswarochisha Atmanati Trivritta Chedam Srajatyapati Lumpati Rajasatvatamodhamne Paraya Mahate Namaha.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord within this universe. At the end of each day of his life, the universe is fully covered with dense darkness by the influence of time, and then again, during his next day, that self-effulgent Lord, by his own effulgence, manifests, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmic manifestation through the material energy, which is invested with the three modes of material nature. He, Lord Brahma, is the shelter of those modes of nature, Sattva-guna, Raja-guna, and Tamo-guna. So his understanding is that Lord Brahma, who's empowered by Lord Krishna, he's saying him the Shakti-Vesh avatar. In one sense, he's right as a supreme person. So he is worshipping the supreme potency within Brahma, like that. But at the same time, he's misunderstanding that Brahma is not the original creator. So he's thinking he is the creator. That's why he's praying like that. Okay.
So Hiranyakashipu knows Brahma is the material creator.
Mm.
And he's inimical towards Vishnu. So who is Vishnu according to Hiranyakashipu?
He says that. He's also another supreme person.
Okay. But he doesn't want to follow it.
Yeah, it's another supreme person.
It's like
He
a
feels,
parallel authority.
yeah, he sees like that. He sees them equal, like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Like that.
Which most people think even today, right?
Yeah. Asuras think like that. That's why he's thinking if he gets the same power as Brahma, he can kill Vishnu.
Oh.
His whole scheme is to kill Vishnu. Right? So therefore, as I mentioned earlier to the class, that his whole understanding is Brahma sleeps, everything gets annihilated, he wakes up, he creates again. So that's all the whole cycle is. During his next day, he again gets up and then creates it. That's how he sees it. So but we have to understand there's a difference between the original creator and the. So Prabhupada says one is engineer, the other one is the creator. So what's the difference between engineer and creator?
Engineer only puts together things.
Yeah, engineer puts together things.
Elements,
Yeah.
which are
Like
together.
you put the parts of a robots together. So you're the engineer. Right? You didn't create the parts. That's the point. Text 28.
Nama Adhyaya Bijaya
Namadyaya Bijaya
Jnana Vijnana Murtaye
Jnana Vijnana Murtaye
Pranendriya Mano Buddhi
Pranendriya Mano Buddhi
Vikara Vyaktimiyuse
Vikaraya Vyaktimiyuse.
I offer my obeisances to the original personality within this universe, Lord Brahma, who is cognizant and who can apply his mind and realize intelligence in creating this cosmic manifestation. It is because of his activities that everything within the universe is visible. He is therefore the cause of all manifestations. So again, in his confused understanding of the original person, he is worshipping Lord Brahma as the supreme person. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, the Vedanta Sutra begins by declaring that the absolute person is the original source of all creation, not Lord Brahma. So then in the next sentence he says, one may ask whether Lord Brahma is the supreme absolute person. No, the supreme absolute person is Krishna. Brahma receives his mind, intelligence, materials, everything else from Krishna. And then he becomes the secondary creator, the engineer of this universe. How do we know that? You read from the Brahma Samhita, where Brahma himself tells us who is the original personality.
So Janmadhyasya Yatah, this is the first canto, first chapter,
verse.
second verse.
First,
Oh, the first verse. Okay. So Vedanta Sutra came first, or Srimad Bhagavatam? Is Srimad Bhagavatam a recollection of the Vedanta Sutra? Because that verse is similar in both of them.
yeah, they are both this in both.
So there's no chronology between the two.
Not that I know.
But it is considered that Bhagavatam is a natural commentary.
Yeah, it's a natural commentary.
It's a parallel. It runs in, it works from beginning.
There's a whole class given on this by Radhika Raman Prabhu. Yeah, it's on the YouTube. You can listen. He compares all the Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Puranas and so on. Yeah, you have to listen.
From Bhagavatam, only first canto, we know that when Vyasadeva wrote Vedanta Sutra, all Vedic knowledge.
It's all there.
And then when Narada came, then he wrote.
No, he
Srimad
already
Bhagavatam.
wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam first already, but it wasn't glorifying the Lord sufficiently. Then he wasn't feeling good about his work. So Narada then encouraged him to rewrite it. So the version 2 is what we are reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, this version 2.
Version 2.
No. Radhika Sandarbha class is about what you said.
Yeah.
Vedanta Sutra explains the whole sequence.
Oh, he's talking about the class.
Oh, the class on
level,
YouTube.
not-
Tattva Sadnarva class. Okay.
3 classes.
Understand? This is version 2. When he met his guru told him, you didn't glorify the Lord. It's more, the most that you have glorified is karma kanda activities. So he rewrote the Bhagavatam. Okay, so that's what we get here.
So may I ask one thing? In the last verse, you said the difference between the engineer and a creator. Can you repeat that, please?
So the creator, he creates all the elements for the necessary products to be made properly. So then we took the example of the robot maker, and the robot, right? So the people who manufacture the parts are actually the creators of all the original things, but the robot maker just puts it together.
So who is Brahma? Brahma here.
He's the engineer. The engineer puts things together.
Creator is then Krishna.
Krishna is the creator. He gives you the elements, everything. So you must have understood it in the Brahma Samhita class, where how the ingredients, modes of material nature, they're combined and then given, and then the universal form, the Mahata, the universal form of the Lord then descends on Brahma. Then he understands the plan, the blueprint. Right? And then based on that, he uses different elements and then he puts together a different planetary system, different body, and then the jivas then enter into this.
Right. I was confused with the vocabulary engineer and creator, because here in the purport it says that Lord Krishna is the engineer and Brahma is the creator, and something I was reading. So I was
No, it's the other way around.
It's other way. In the last verse, 27, last line of purport, Lord Krishna is the original creator, Brahma is the engineer.
Yeah. Okay, so
can I ask you,
Yeah.
just rewind a little bit? Universal form descends on Brahma. We covered that in
Brahma Samhita, it's there.
So what does descend mean?
Like potency, empowered.
Oh, okay, so Shakti shot that point.
Lord, the blueprint
Blueprint came down.
on him. So then he merged into that and he's empowered. That's like you can say the Shakti Vesh, empowerment. He becomes the empowered creator now, sub-creator. Yeah. So yeah, in the last paragraph, even though in the verse it says Brahma is the original cause of cosmic manifestation, Prabhupada says, and this applies to his position in the material world. Okay? Not in the terms of the whole creation, the universal creation, not like that. So then he goes on to explain, there are many such controllers, all of whom are created by Supreme Lord Vishnu. So who created Brahma? Vishnu. We just spoke about it. He came from his navel in a lotus. So that part maybe Hiranyakashipu didn't go for that class.
But ignored that class.
So he didn't get to that level.
He didn't know when Brahma was born.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He didn't even inquire from Brahma, how were you born? So he assumed Brahma is the original source because he's creating. Generally, when people create something, it's more attractive because we are all like in the mode of passion. So we like that creation, Kshatriyas. If you see Kshatriyas are all handsome, beautiful like that. So people are more attracted to that aspect of it. So passion is always more attractive in the beginning, right? And in the end, it becomes poison. Okay, so then the example that is given is how when Brahma came to visit King Krishna in Dwaraka, then Krishna said, which Brahma is coming? So then he was confused. Then just to make him understand, Krishna calls all the Brahmas from so many different universes. They all came.
So this happened 2 times then. Once in Dwaraka, once in Brahma Vimohana Leela. So Brahma forgets after Brahma Vimohana Leela, he goes to Dwaraka and again happens.
It always happens. We always forget, no?
Of course. Yeah, but he's Brahma.
Same. Still a jiva.
So even before he starts creation, he knows this. Like Brahma Samhita is sung at the beginning of the creation, but then again he forgets. But
Yeah, as long as you're in the material world, you'll forget. No? So you cannot always keep saying why he keeps forgetting. Maybe that's for Leela's sake he forgets. Not that when he saw Krishna, he didn't see Krishna as Vishnu. He saw him as a little boy. So doubt crept into his heart. So then the Lord was not so happy with what he did. So he showed him again, look who I am. Then, okay, made a mistake. Yeah. So that was the bewilderment of the Lord. So in any case, the same thing here. He was like, hey, I thought I was the only Brahma. Because in this case, Brahma didn't know before coming that there's many other Brahmas. Right? It will be a shock, right? That one day you find there's so many different Radhika Gopinath also. Right? You think you are the only one who has the name Radhika Gopinath. So then you find out who is Radhika Gopinath, right? So many initiated all different gurus. Yeah, same thing. So finally, Prabhupada ends by explaining that there's so many Brahmas with so many heads. Thus, although there is a Brahma who's the engineer of each universe, but there's only one Krishna of all of them. Yeah.
So there are like multiple Brahmas, so in multiple universes.
Yes.
So Hiranyakashipu only comes in this one.
No, there's multiple Hiranyakashipus.
So it's everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
This pastime happens in every different
All the universes.
As far as I understand.
But details are slightly different.
Different.
And that's a different jiva who.
Yes, different.
Different jiva.
Like I was explaining this, in this cycle, they are Jai and Vijay. In the next cycle, it's not Jai and Vijay. It could be any jiva who's as powerful as. Okay.
So similar
in every universe.
Artist change.
Expanding this thought, when Krishna, I think this was asked to Prabhupada too, and when Krishna finishes his pastime or goes to the next universe, then Arjuna, is it a different Arjuna or the same Arjuna?
He's always with him.
He's always with him.
It's inconceivable, so don't crack your head, because
like-
how can all happen at the same time? The Lord can make that happen. That's why He is God. We are not. We are nothing. We are atoms. Text 29.
त्वमीशिषे जगतस्ततुतश्च प्राणेन मुख्येन पतिप्रजानाम् चित्तस्य चित्तैर्मन इन्द्रियाणाम् पतिर्महान् भूतगुणाशयेषः
Lordship, being the origin of the life of this material world, is the master and controller of the living entities, both moving and stationary, and you inspire their consciousness. You maintain the mind and the acting and knowledge acquiring senses. And therefore, you are the great controller of all the material elements and their qualities. And you are the controller of all desires. So again, he's saying he is the original source of everything. Here, he's specifically saying origin of the life in this material world. But actually, the supreme origin life is Krishna. Just like the gopis also say to Krishna, right? They say, you are our life air. Without you, we are. Radharani also feels that. Prana. Without you, I am nobody. Like that. I die, I give up my life. So therefore, you have to understand also. Even though he is glorifying within this material world universe here, Brahma is like the supreme person. So he is glorifying him in that aspect. But actually, Brahma himself was instructed by the supreme person, Krishna. So just imagine if we didn't have all this knowledge, then we won't know, no? We'll just anyhow we'll whack, This one is supreme, that one is supreme. And therefore you have so much confusion. And it is also difficult when someone is saying, okay, I'm worshipping Brahma, I think he's supreme, and then they read the Bhagavatam, they get very disturbed. But if they read this section, they'll be very happy. Yeah.
So if they're worshippers of Lord Brahma, they should only read this section.
Huh?
If they're worshippers of Lord Brahma, if they want to find something satisfying in the Bhagavatam, then they should read only this
Yes, exactly.
Make them sad.
Make them read this chapter. And then they will get excited, But when they read the purport, it will be difficult for them. But they will, because they are reading Prabhupada's book, it will convince them. Yeah. They will then question you. How's that? I don't know. Then you can show them. Look at Brahma Samhita. Brahma himself is saying, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Nadiradi Govinda Sarvakara. Yeah. So then like that we convince people. We try to convince. We are not there to defeat them. Okay, don't go out to defeat people. If you speak very nicely, you will conquer their heart, and then they will be like Brahma. Whatever you want. Next 30.
Tvam saptatantum vitanosi tanva.
Tvam saptatantum vitanosi tanva.
Hayya chaturhotraka vidyayacha.
Hayya chaturhotraka vidyayacha.
Tvameka atmatmavatam manade.
Tvameka atmatmavatam manade.
Anantaparaka virantaratma.
Anantaparaka virantaratma.
Dear Lord, by your form as the Vedas personified and through knowledge relating to the activities of all the Yajnik Brahmanas, you spread the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of the 7 kinds of sacrifice, headed by Agni Stoma. Indeed, you inspire the Yajnik Brahmanas to perform the rituals mentioned in the 3 Vedas. Being the Supreme Soul, the Super Soul of all living entities, you are beginningless, endless, and omniscient, beyond the limits of time and space. It's interesting though. He calls him the Supreme Soul, the Super Soul of all living entities. And then Prabhupada quotes from the Bhagavad Gita, Matta Smriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Unless you have the Lord giving you the proper knowledge, you will get confused. You will see different person as Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada is telling us, with the Lord in our heart, He can guide us and make us remember. So therefore he says, Sarvasya Chahamridi Sannivista Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Riddesha Arjuna Tisthati. And one is advanced in Vedic logic, the Super Soul gives him directions. Okay. So similarly for us also, we have to become advanced in our practice. Then the Lord will guide us properly. So, acting as Super Soul, the Lord gives inspiration to a suitable person to perform the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. So, therefore, in this connection, 4 classes of priests known as Ritvik are required. They are mentioned as Hota, Advaryu, Brahma, and Udgata. So, they have different angas of the sacrifice they take care. And there's one main priest, and he will chant and they will just follow. Or he oversees them and they do all the ceremonies. So under his guidance they do. So that's what a Ritvik is. Okay. But that is only for yajna purpose. Not for any other purposes. Okay. So again he is confused about the position of Brahma, but then indirectly he is actually worshipping Narayan. Because Brahma is Shaktivesha Avatar. So he is representing Lord Vishnu. So therefore his prayers is correct. Text 31.
Evatalo nimisho jananam ayurlavadya avayavai kshinishu Kutastha atma parameshkyajo maham Samjiva lokasya cha jiva atma
Oh my Lord, your Lordship is eternally awake, seeing everything that happens. As eternal time, you reduce the duration of life for all living entities through your different parts, such as moments, seconds, minutes, and hours. Nonetheless, you are unchanged, resting in one place as the Supersoul, Witness, and Supreme Lord, the birthless, all-pervading controller, who is the cause of life for all living entities. So anyway, Prabhupada talks about the Supreme Lord in the purport because he's identifying the worship to Vishnu himself. Okay. So the Supreme Lord is in the heart of everyone. He's directing everyone according to their desires like that. And at the same time, according to your desire, you can live your life in a certain fashion. And then that's one thing. The second thing is you also have in each life you are able to fulfill only a certain number of, and therefore you have a certain amount of lifespan. You cannot in one lifetime experience everybody's desire. It's not possible. So you have to take different births to experience it. So that's how the Lord is controlling our desires. Right? You cannot be an ant and a human at the same time, unless you're the Ant-Man. Right? But in reality, you can't be like that. It's not possible, right? It's not possible. You have to experience the form as a human first, or as an ant in the next life, you have to be a human to experience. Can I experience together? We are not in that capacity. We cannot do that. Unless you are some yogi who can leave your body and go into a body of an ant and experience it.
And then come back into your body.
And then come back to your body. But if somebody steals your body, then
You take that person's body.
you take someone else's body. Then you may not like that body.
Then you leave that body and find another body.
It's like Shankaracharya.
Yeah.
He went to figure out how the king lives his life. Because he was arguing with one lady who was very expert. And then when he sat in front of her, she said, "You cannot argue with me because you haven't experienced Grihastha ashram." Then he thought about a moment. He said, "You are right. So give me 1 month and I'll come back." So he went to a cave. Then he got his disciples and he left it. He said, "I'm going to go into meditation. Don't do anything for 1 month." So he left his body. So he would make sure nobody touched the body. So he left and he went to a kingdom where a king just died. So everyone is crying. Then he went into the body and then he revived the body and they were shocked. But then this king was slightly different. So anyway, he manages the kingdom in a different way. And then the queen figures out, this is not my husband. So so he once he finished experiencing that ashram, he comes back and then he goes to the lady and say, "I'm ready now." And he defeats her. Yeah. So it's like that. The Supreme Lord only gives us, according to our time, certain experiences. We cannot experience everything we want in one lifetime. It's impossible, right? You cannot be a devotee practicing in Samamish and at the same time be Trump in Washington. Obviously, you don't want that. But the point is, you cannot be doing both things at the same time. It's not possible. But in the spiritual world, the Lord can give you that ability. He can make you expand as many times to experience anything. But that's different, right? But in the material world, each life is for a certain number of experiences. So we learn something for our benefit to go back to God. That is the idea here. Okay. So as Paramatma is in all our hearts and therefore he knows our desires. Even before we are going to think, he already knows what we desire. Because he's already watching. It's like, computer codes. He can see the code going in your head. So he knows exactly. Just like in the morning, before you see something, the Super Soul sees first. So he sees first before you see. If he doesn't see, you cannot see. Because he's giving you the ability to see. That's the point. So Therefore, he is the all-pervading control. All right. Try to understand this is the science of God. We are trying to understand the science. So slowly you try beg the Lord. Let me appreciate what these statements are like that. Then you become humble and then appreciate. Once you know who God is, you become humble because you are nobody. Right or not? We are nothing. We are Anu. He is somebody. So I think one time one disciple told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I'm nobody. Prabhupada said, you know nothing. So he even smashed that attitude. False ego. Text 32.
Param na paramapyanejat. Ejakinchit vyadiriktamasti. Vidyakalaste tanavashtra sarva.
There's nothing separate from you, whether it be better or lower, stationary or moving. The knowledge derived from the Vedic literatures like the Upanishads and from all the sub-limbs of the original Vedic knowledge form your external body. You are Hiranyagarbha, the reservoir of the universe, but nonetheless, being situated as the supreme controller, you are transcendental to the material world, which consists of the three modes of material nature. So he understands what Supreme Lord is, but he doesn't connect properly.
That's true.
Yeah. The supreme cause, Prabhupada, is the supreme personality of Godhead, and the effect is material nature. Why is the material nature necessary? Why do we need the material nature?
That is the way we can connect to God.
That's the way we connect to God. That's
No, we
the
fulfill our
second
desires,
part of the
fulfill desires. Yeah.
better answer.
Like we came here to sense gratification, so whatever we desire.
So we had desires that cannot be fulfilled in the spiritual world. So the Lord gave us a separate place to fulfill those desires. And that's the reason why He gave us this material nature. And the material nature is empowered to ensure that we don't go out of our jurisdiction. And everyone has only limited capacities. If, let's say, we are given immortality in this material world, then what do you think will happen? Chaos.
Everybody is so powerful.
Everybody is powerful, it'll be chaos. It'll be just chaos. So therefore, the material energy controls everyone. Accordingly, you can only enjoy something. And then, why is there distress? To show us that there's no happiness separate from Krishna. That is the thing. There's some aspects of bliss, but it's not sufficient. Okay.
Prabhu?
Yeah.
In this, like Hiranyakashipu is saying, you are transcendental to the material world. Now, Lord Brahma is under the mode of goodness and mode of passion, in fact, for the creation. He's not saying, no, Krishna is supreme, or like Vaishnava doesn't want to hear all those things, and he's not saying it's an offense and something like that.
Yeah, it is like that. When someone comes and praises you, right, you may just keep quiet, because you feel good. It's a fact.
That's me, Prabhu. But
It's the same. It happens to even the demigods. Yeah. Try to understand. It's happening at this stage. It's happening, and he's accepting the prayers on behalf of Krishna.
Representing.
Yeah. So it's not wrong because you don't know what Brahma is thinking. Brahma is thinking, or he may be meditating on the Supreme Lord, whatever prayers. So like you were saying, you may think like that, but actually you're not supposed to think like that. You may think whatever good qualities this person is saying is due to my spiritual master. That way you don't get reactions. That way you won't fall down also. Rather, so we don't know Brahma's psychology at this time or what, but we know that he was pleased with Hiranyakashipu. So there may be some that he's okay, good, go on. It's possible. I'm just saying. But you also know he is at a high level, so he is also meditating on the Supreme Lord. He's representing the Supreme Lord. So the prayers is actually to the Supreme Lord. You can say in that sense. And he is a pure devotee. We all know Brahma is a pure devotee. So therefore, he's not contaminated by such prayers. Yeah. So sometimes for some people, they want to praise. So you allow them to praise so they feel good also. Then after that, you can tell them, okay, now I want you to do something. Because they respect you, you can lead them to Krishna conscious better. So in one sense, you can understand that Brahma is hoping, I guess so, that this guy will listen to him. But we will see how much he's going to listen. Yeah, like that. Right. Yeah, let's have a 10-minute break. We start at 12:10.
Maybe